Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Tier 4 Cone CRL Season number 8, round 3 here in the streets of Monaco, down on the Mediterranean coast after a long swim from the depths of South America last week. We're all over the place already this week, and a bit like the driving may be this week on track, tight and twisty streets of Monaco await as I'm your regular host, CRL Freefall, better known as Scotty, and joined by my ever-present little buddy here in the co-coms once again for round number 3. It's the man, the myth, the absolute legend. That's CRC Leroy. How you doing tonight, mate?
I mean, my ears are bleeding off the intro, but pretty good, Scott. Here at Monaco, I think everyone's least favourite track on the calendar, but yeah, should be, well, I say a good race. I mean, a good demolition derby.
It'll certainly be an interesting one. We've had, I think we've been treated the last 2 weeks. 2 absolute corkers, of course. Starting off in China, we saw some amazing battles on track. We saw some, absolute stonking battles and brilliant lap times coming flying in. So it was a really, really good show. And at Brazil last week, I think it was the only time in my life I've ever been speechless. I think,
Yeah.
my parents, anybody that's ever known me since I was a child knows I don't shut up. And last week I was actually speechless. So hopefully more of the same tonight. A different challenge for the drivers. We go from a very free-flowing, very overtaking, inviting circuit in the way of Brazil. Again, another short circuit, much like the one tonight. Well, we're off to a good start, boys. 3.337 kilometres long, or 2.074 miles. 78 laps in a full Grand Prix, 39 to lap. So it's only the only Grand Prix that doesn't meet the minimum requirement for race distance, but it's short distance lead. It's a bit like myself, pretty short, but a lot of action packed into it.
You're on one tonight with the puns, actually. Yeah, but not Monaco. Street circuit, obviously, I find the most notorious street circuit. I think, fun fact about Monaco, it hasn't only been raced on in 1 year. I think that was during, well, the illness time, shall we say. But yeah, it's never usually the exciting race. I mean, qualifying is the most important around here. But yeah, it presented a very different time to Brazil, and I mean, Monaco is just one of those tracks. I mean, I say about Brazil, I say about Monaco, it's one of those tracks. But yeah, as the Williams crossed the line for the first lap, it is a 1:11.2. The pole lap in Tier 3 was a 1:11.1, so we're doing very well already.
Solid lap by, I'm going to call him ID Shoe. I think that's probably a good bet to go for. He's one of our reserves in tonight in the Williams 4. I believe it is the Maverick. Hasbulla back once again. He's back on track again in the Alpine. He replaces a new driver in the form of the mighty Atom. He has replaced the Verstappen 87 full-time in the Alpine. Of course, Atom unavailable to race on his first full-time seating. So Hasbulla taking seat tonight alongside that BX37 Pro. We seen him last week. Here's his teammate. Well, Ghost Angel and BX37 Pro are the new team lineup for AlphaTauri as Digweed takes a step back. Unfortunately, an absolute legend of the community is Digweed, but replaced by another one in the form of BX37 Pro. His teammate, like I said, we're on board with Ghost Angel 1, the veteran of the league, the oldie of the league, and an absolute goldie of the league. Running up to the line for his first time is a 14.666, so a little bit off the pace, but it's Monaco. We can forgive a little bit of tenderness, a little bit of, shall we say, caution in the first ever lap, Lee.
Yeah, I mean, just getting lap around Monaco is important because I mean, so many people do usually crash, lose a wing. So getting that first lap in, no matter what time, there's going to be about 120 for and it can still probably get you half out the grid. A spoiler or something like that. He sets a 115.9, which is the source time at the moment. Yeah, and no one can close the pole time at the moment. Victor Mean closest piece 1.1 off. Sorry, so it's a big lap at the moment. So Mark Wilson has got a 5-place grip on for a collision with Topher. I don't know what's happened there.
I'm not too sure. Topher in the Ferrari, he's coming into the pits, as is Mark Wilson and the McLaren. So whether it's a case of trying to get out of the way, and a car on the car behind you isn't actually on a lap, and they've just sort of had to come together. Maybe the classic case of what causes collisions is a little bit of poor body language from each other, or car language, we should say, and just intentions getting muddled up. It is, it's a tight circuit. You can't really show your intentions too clearly, and especially trying in qualifying, it can be chaotic, shall we say, trying to find a space and find a pack. Both of them in an in-lap, though, a bit of a strange one. Hasbulla then is on a flying lap, and my mortal enemy, shall we say, and not this Hasbulla, of course, the other Hasbulla, but it might be the same Hasbulla, who knows. He's on a lap anyway, and he is going to take us a run through from the first sector. So, of course, turn number 5 here at the hotel. We've got the Grand Hotel hairpin. Good luck turning around that if you're on pads before we're into Mirabeau, turn number 7, and Portier of 8 takes us down the back straight, or what is effectively the back straight here, and into the tunnel. Turn number 9 here, technically, that little kink can be an interesting one in the wet if you've got the ERS on. Before we get down into the Nobel chicane, making up turns number 10 and 11. Takes a nice, decent line through there, does Hasbulla, before the run up to the back, the left hand of 12, and then into the pool complex. Turns 13, 14, 15, and now 16, before the infamous Rascasse of 17. Tricky corner to hook round, especially in the race at times. Final corner then, 18 and, well, technically 19 there, and he's got a clear run up to the line. A little bit of DRS, you're only DRS on the track, and it is a 15.221. So a time on the board for little Hasbulla. It is a banker, it is definitely one on, and like you say, getting a lap on the board, Lee, that could be the difference between starting 20th and starting 14th at times.
Exactly, yeah, and I do reckon the Hasbulla, the one in real life, is probably about as tall as you, Scott. So,
that was a low blow.
How to get it in?
That was a low blow.
As BX37 Pro coming into the Nouvelle chicane, that's what it's called. Coming into the back now, very fast corner into 5th gear. He goes, takes it on very nicely, and now coming to the simple chicane. Into now hits the curve nicely, and now through the infamous Rascasse corner, break down into 2nd gear, get the rotation nicely, and then through Anthony Nove, the final corner. It's a good rub, and this seems to be at least not for BX Pro, so he's moved up to it. What does he set? It will be a 13th fly, which takes him into P9, so a good lap.
Very, very good lap indeed. But the man at the front now, ID Shoe, 1.1 seconds clear. Might have been a little fault on the admin side here. Maybe he should be in a tier above, but of course it is the first lap. We don't know what the rest of them could have in store. And still 5 drivers to set a lap. One of them is WTL Curley, your current championship leader. 38 points he is on. A P2, of course, in China, making up his way through the field, having a pretty quiet race, but a solid one at that. He has looked to turn his hot lap off because he has invalidated, so it won't be a lap for him. But yes, P2 in China for him, and then a relatively quiet race again in Brazil, P5, but sees him top of the standings on 38. Deluxe, 37 points, a single point behind him. So that battle pretty tight even after 2 races. Deluxe, of course, on for a P2 in China. That last lap's been costing him so much, but then a good, incredible, to be fair, it's more than good, credible recovery drive last week in Brazil. Spinning out from the lead after setting pole, recovering through the field, the safety car chaos. I don't think we can ever talk about how mental that was, and really live up to it. You need to just go watch it. Saw him come through to take the win. SUFC in P3 on 30. Of course, he won in China. DNF'd at the start of last week. And Topher, P4. Wuban, Mark Wilson, Verstappen, Marshall, Victorine, and Spider Rob round off your top 10. All of them getting 20 points or more. And then we drop down to the bottom half of the field. Mean Man, Moody, Scooter Clem, AFL Maverick, and Murphy, your points scorers. Digweed, of course, has left the grid. He was in 0, as does Ghost Angel 1, MFC Trundles, Tomo Tiptop, and DS Baker. Not Scooter Clem, of course. Verstappen was in P7, dropping out and making way for Atom, who isn't here tonight. And that is not the way you want your lap to go. BX37 Pro coming down to the Nouvelle chicane. The Haas of, I believe, it was Wuban, clipping the inside, the left hand of the entry to it, and not just ruining his lap, although I believe it was an outlap, ruining Ben's lap while he was at it.
Yeah, Mark Wilson on the P4 on the 12.5. Who's on the lap? I mean, Adoshi's on when he is 9/10 up, so it's looking a good off for him. Adoshi coming into the back now. Obviously looking to build on last week's race win as he comes now into the swim post chicane. Does well, and now he's 1 seconds up. He could challenge the whole time. Let's see, he comes around last cast into Anthony Nose now. Out the final corner for Demoxy. Up to the line, it won't be Paul, I don't think, but it'll be an 11.5, and it's definitely a lot closer than what everyone else seems to be getting at the moment.
Yeah, he's catching up that gap, just standing at 2 and a bit tenths now between ID Shoe and Deluxe Murphy. While that was going on, shot up into what was P2, of course, now P3 with Deluxe's time at 12.129 for the old man of the division. Fun fact, he had a dream about this race last night. In it, it was a rainy start. He finished P4 after pitting on the final lap, not realising it was the final lap, and for some reason AJ Wuhan was racing in Div 4 and he somehow won it. So two things happening there: Murphy pitting on the final lap and Jacob somehow winning a race. So
it's a miracle.
I don't know what he's eating at night. Must be eating some strong to before he goes to bed to have dreams like that. But certainly I need to find out what it is and get a bite of myself, because if AJ Wuhan's winning a race, even if it is in your dreams, because it doesn't even happen in his. Anyway, we're on board with Trundles in the Williams. He finds himself pointless, and I mean that in the purely he's not just pointless in the standing, he's wingless in this run. I was going to say find him pointless in the standings, not in a purely physical sense. I don't mean any bad upon him, but he is out of this qualifying and won't set a lap time. And just like we were saying, get a lap time on the board, you might do good. Mean Man Moody, the Mercedes, I believe is retired in the pits. A 13.7, P12 at the moment. He's happy with that, so choosing to retire. Maybe just choosing. I've done one run. Give me like 2 or 3 sets of fresh softs, and you know, the chaos could reign, and I'll work my way through.
Yeah, I mean, I think normal strategies go out the window at Monaco. It's not about just making up one bloody strategy in your head. As yeah, I mean, speaking of Trundles, he's had good pace in China, and I remember he's about P4, P5 in Brazil, but he just seems to either get a open instance or he seems to spin himself. So yeah, and I know driver who compared that as Mark Wilson. I think both of them two have had. I mean, Mark Wilson's been fighting for wins, you know all that. I mean, he was fighting up there last week until he got a penalty towards the end and spun. So yeah, it's just about getting it right. And if you're gonna start off a title charge or whatever, Monaco would be probably the last place to do it in, but who knows?
Who knows indeed. SUFC, who has a man mixing it at the top all season so far at 12.4, so sees him go P5. Victor Mean in P4. I'm not quite sure when he dropped up there. It might have been up there for a while. But yeah, like you say, Trundles, good pace, especially in China. We've seen him mixing it up there with the front until an unfortunate drive-through penalty under safety car conditions saw him drop right down the pack. Of course, you can't serve a drive-through during the safety car period. DS Baker picks up a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with AFL.
Didn't
quite sure
Mark
where that's happened.
Wilson call about AFL as well? I think he did.
No, it was Trundles.
Not
It was
Topher.
no, not Trundles. Topher. So AFL and Topher getting touched and bringing on 5-place grid penalties for 2 drivers. Not the way these 2 drivers would want to start their race, of course, but it is the sort of the side effect of Monaco. Everybody's that closer together. It's such a short competitive track, and you're vying for every bit of space, even in qualifying. What did Steiny say? Steiny in the comments, are you going to miss this? I did race on track last week, Steiny. I was just at the back the whole time. I mean, that fills you. I've just opened up to see who's commenting, and the first thing I see is Steiny commenting saying, I missed you last week, not seeing you on track. I was on track, I was just at the back.
Well, nothing out of the normal story, don't worry. laps. You should be used to it by now.
WTL Curly Championship leader sets a 14.757 to get his qualifying underway with only 2.5 minutes left to go. Provisional P5 for him as it stands. Most of the drivers then coming out of the pits to put in their final laps. I believe Tomo Tip Top is just about to finish a lap or just start a lap. One of the two, he's just starting a lap. We'll come back to him in a little bit. This whole glitch of the not being able to see when they're actually on an out lap or when they're on their flying lap and the tyres don't help, it really boggles my mind here. So I'm trying to figure out what car's coming through the end of the circuit, what car's on a flying lap. Victor Mean is starting his P4 at the moment. A couple of times could see him jump to P3. Deluxe's looking for a couple of tims. We'll keep an eye on ID Shu. He's just starting his lap. Can he improve on a 1:11.284? If he does, I think he definitely did. I mean, right now he's probably about P2, P3 in the Tier 3 qualifying, so he's definitely one of the front runners. Deluxe up there, look at the pace he's had, and he's getting outshone as things stand by the newcomer in the Williams. In fact, the Williams driver putting in a purple first sector there. There's a Haas coming through at the end. I believe that is Wuba. And is he about to start a lap, or is he just finishing a lap? I think he's just finished a lap.
Yeah, I think so. Unless he's going again, which could be possible as well.
Not too much in the tank in the way of ERS. Is this Deluxe coming through? He has invalidated his lap time. He has got a full tank of ERS, however, so he will have time to go again. It'll be a lot easier once this checkered flag comes out to find out who's on a sort of mad lap at the end. We'll have a look at IR Marshall. Why don't we haven't given him any love yet? He's coming through the final sector now on his, I believe, second flying lap, and ID Shu blowing the Tier 3 pole time out of the water by 3 tims. I think it might be. There's a third. They do say things come in threes. Well, there it is, number 3 of the 5 place grid penalties.
Another one, yeah.
Another one.
Who's on a lap? It makes it very difficult for us to figure this out. Come on, boys.
Yes, I think AFL's on a lap,
Yeah,
but he is at the first sector. I know Murphy's on a lap. Let's watch Murphy. No, Murphy isn't on a lap. Victor Mean, I think, was. Is he still on the lap? That is the question. He doesn't look like he's pulled out of it yet.
Definitely not.
Oh, but he has.
Time, isn't it?
Oh, this is.
Oh,
this
and
is...
AFL has invalidated. Oh, God.
Well, the checkered flag has fallen, so AFL won't improve on his time. There is I believe, an Aston Martin. It is Deluxe. How is he going to improve on his time, or is he going to improve? He is not a 12.0 for his first lap. So, ID Shu 7 tims clear at the top as things stand. Next up, it's an Alpha Tauri. Is that Ghost Angel 1? No, it's Big Ben, or BX37 Pro as he's known nowadays. 7 tims up, if that is to be believed by that split. Up to the line then for the Alpha Tauri. Jumps up to P11 with a 1:13.3. Next up then is not. It's going to be the Ferrari. A lot of these guys pulling out of their final laps, it seems. It's not Topher. It's IR Marshall, and well, it's not going to be him because he's facing in. What's he doing there? Where's blood going? It's going to be Murphy. It's not going to be Murphy because he's.
Fine enough to the line. Imperius doesn't move up in position. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Topher's still got a chance. He's on a line up to the line. 14. No, he missed out by 600s. That's qualifying. Wow, that was chaotic as you could expect from Monaco. I think. Who would have guessed it? You put a chaotic street circuit on, and me and Lee don't have an absolute clue what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak. 2 small brains on a chaotic street circuit doesn't work.
Absolutely not. But what has worked is the strategy at Williams. ID Shu, TTL_ID Shu. I wonder if that stands for temporary traffic lights. Probably not. He is on pole with 110.8 ahead of last week's pole setter Deluxe. 6.5 tenths. I think it might be time for probably ID Shu to go up. Maybe Deluxe could be looking in a chance. 1.2 seconds the gap back to P3. It maybe doesn't bode well for an interesting race at the front, but it is Monaco. Anything can happen. Murphy puts his McLaren up in P3 ahead of Victor Mean. Mark Wilson in P5, but a 5-place grid penalty going to drop him down to 10th. SUFC, AFL, Wuban, Scooter Clem and Tomo Tiptop round up your qualifying top 10. Then it's BX37 Pro, IR Marshall, Spider Rob in P13 season, dropped to P18 with a 5-place grid penalty. Ahead of Mean Man Moody, Ghost Angel 1, Curly, Topher, Hasbulla, DS Baker and MFC Trunders. DS Baker, of course, 5-place grid penalty. We'll see him drop to from P19 to P20. So, 3 grid penalties. 2 pretty good lap times from the front to a 1.2 second gap from P1 to P3. It's kind of what you expect at Monaco. The clouds are holding out on us. There is no rain at the moment, so that may be a relief to some of these drivers. Safety cars, it's a strange one, Lee, because you would expect, looking at the track, we're going to see hundreds of them. But, of course, there's sort of a hard-written code, shall we say, that the game recognises that even with the damage model we have and the damage rates we have on, it would be, impossible to get a laps racing because somebody would break their wing or somebody will come together, particularly at the early stages, and it'll group up the pack, and then that'll just breed, safety cars breed safety cars, the old saying. So the game sort of won't release the safety car unless we have an almighty pile up, and that is the only time it really will happen, or if we put it to increased. But if there's any track that we're going to put the safety car to increased, you can bet it's not going to be Monaco.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, the game does seem to recognise. I'm not sure what the sketch, I'm not sure. I'd say it's probably meant, because as you said, they recognise that Monaco was always chaos. I mean, there is the transfer of safety car, but it's very unlikely, which, I mean, what was I going to say? Yeah, which is just good, because I think we have a safety cars everything else it wasn't for that, so, yeah. As in terms of hard section, Topher's on the softs, and then there's a mix of hard, so Victor Mean, AFL, Mark Wilson, Curly and Spider Rob on hard, everyone else in the mediums, prep for Topher's on the softs.
A nice little mix there between the hards and the mediums. An outlier of Topher and P16 could be one to watch, just particularly at the early stages. Of course, 39 laps are ahead of us. We don't know how many of them will be green flagged racing. It'll be a tricky one to see. Topher and Hasbulla, however, have had a little coming together already on the formation laps. He's reset to the grid. That really doesn't bode well for the race. It really isn't, Lee. It really is not. Of course, we do have, I believe it is, if my maths is right, 39 laps, which is 741 turns around Monaco. 19 corners in the track. Of course, some easier than others. You have technically turn 2, which is halfway up the hill between, in the first sector. Turn 9, which is in the tunnel. I don't really consider these turns, but they're on there, and yeah.
What was your number? 771, did you say?
741.
Oh yeah, you're right on the ball. Come on.
It's amazing. I can do 19 times 39 in my head. That's wonders. That's a skill that is highly required these days.
About that one.
Oh no, that's because it's easy. You just do, right? Well, 39 is nearly 40, so you do 19 times 10, and then you do that times 4, and then you take away 19 from it.
Hey.
Anyway, we're waffling on a little bit here. The grid is now reforming. Deluxe, Victor Mean, Scooter Clem, all DSQing. Mark Wilson DSQing in their pit boxes. DS Baker as well. So that's going to give them a little bit of a disadvantage on this run down into Saint Avoc. Hopefully we see no heroics. We've got a terrible camera angle here. There's 5 red lights and there's 3 drive-through penalties, and away we go for the Monaco Grand Prix. AFL, BX37 Pro and Mean Man Moody all picking up drive-through penalties. Into turn 1 they go. The front 2 away clean. Murphy's lost out a couple of positions to Victor Mean and SUFC. There's a yellow flag further back at the field, but I think for the most part we've made it through relatively clean here, Lee.
Yeah, seems to be well behaved from everyone at the moment, which is very surprising, but also very a welcome sight. Yeah, there was a few. Three jump sites. Oh, was there a crack? No, I think it was. Oh my god, everyone's going so
It's
ahead. I'm
it's
trying
a
to keep up with
bit
everything
of
here.
a
Oh,
concertina effect.
spun.
Yep.
The exit hairpin. I think those hard tires struggling to warm up, and he is backwards, and he can't even turn around. So he's gonna be in last by the time he gets around, which is just a fun of Monaco, eh?
Does well to do a little
Screw a
flick
cap.
spin and not get caught up in the wall. Scooter Claims had a little bit of a spin on the exit of Porty Air. I believe there was a little bit of a concertina effect there through the hairpin, so we'll see if there's anybody jumping into the pits at the early stage. But look at the top four already, the top six even. They're all spread out by over a second from each other. Really struggling to follow each other. AFL into the pits to serve his drive through then. He and BX37 Pro and Mean Moody all picking them up on the race start. Mark Wilson, pretty much the only battle on track at the moment within the top 10. He is 4 tenths behind Tomo Tip Top, the Alfa Romeo, leading the Red Bull up the hill to the end of the first sector. And this grid already spread out as we see a little bit of connection wobble there, you could call it.
Yeah.
The car Tokyo drifting its way through turn number 5.
Yeah, Taufer's strategy of soft tires already. He's gone from 68 to P8, so.
Wow.
It's a miracle,
wow.
no.
He's kept the car intact. He's used the soft pace, and it's paid off, of course. Early pit stop in the works for him, but that could be an advantage here, Lee. He's going to get out of the pack. He's going to get out of the sort of drama, and he can maybe just cut his way through. Wuban looks to be cutting in to the lead that Murphy had on top of him. Deluxey 2 seconds adrift from our race leader, ID Shoe. And SUFC just hanging in there. Once again, Deluxey and SUFC Shoe. SUFC Shoe, I'm just combining names for the fun of it. Tomo Tip Top into the pits. Must have got a little bit of wing damage on there. A little clip of one of the barriers. See Mark Wilson jump up to P4, P6. Wuban then is chasing down P4, however, on the medium tyres, trailing the McLaren, also on the mediums of CRL Murphy. These two battling it out at this early stage, and one of the few battles on track. But there is another one a little bit closer here. A nice run up the hill is Trunders getting on Curly, the two blue cars in the Williams and the Red Bull, of course, one of many blue-esque, vaguely blue cars on the grid. That's a lot harder than you think it is to say, especially when you're just trying to stream at a big sentence to get it. Vaguely blue. Yeah, vaguely blue cars. Easy for some to say. Obviously just not me. Spider-Rob picking up a 5-second penalty for corner cutting. Oh my, we have got pirouettes galore at the Grand Hotel hairpin.
I think Spider-Rob hit Tom Tittle just by the fact the game gave him a penalty, so some collision there and powered him around and all more wing damage. Great.
No wing for Tomo Tip Top. He's just been in to service that wing, and well, he's gonna need another one. Not the way he would want his race to go. Spider-Rob, interesting that. Tomo Tip Top getting a 5-second penalty for cutting the corner. Is he just straight? I think he's just straight lined the hairpin. Just no front wing, maybe not getting stopped in time, or maybe he's just decided, well, I might as well. Yeah, interesting one. Spider-Rob already picking up 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. It's not really a track known for its corner cutting penalties because, well, if you cut the corner, you tend to just end up in the wall. He must be taking a lot of curb, I would imagine, on that hairpin, or perhaps the following corner, of course, Marabou Bass, or potentially even turn number 1. Trundle still trailing Curly, Wuban still trailing Murphy, and aside from that, there's not too much in the way of on-track battles. Hasbulla battling it out a little bit with Mean Man Moody, and AFL's trying to get in this mix, but it shows you the chaos of Monaco. We're 4 laps in and we only have 3 separate battles involving 7 cars as we start lap 5.
Spider-Rob's already been lapped, and so Tom Tip Top, but Spider-Rob's specialist in being lapped, so who knows.
I mean, it worked for him last week, almost a lap down to coming back for a P3. Of course, a very chaotic race in Brazil last week. Not the sort of norm, but it certainly worked out for him. Rare sight to see sometimes here in Monaco. The DRS wide open on that McLaren. He's chasing down the two in front of him, but it's a
Oh,
hard track
Trundles.
to overtake. Trundles
Oh.
has a little look on the right hand side of the Red Bull, gets sort of caught off there by the Red Bull and the wall, makes minor contact, and depending, sometimes a collision like that can give you the tiniest little bit of damage, but we all know how even a slight little bit of damage to your front wing can be disastrous to your grip levels. We'll see how he sort of fares over the next lap. It might be an early pit stop where he might choose to suffer it, and I would say, judging by the amount of time he's losing, it might be a case. Yellow flags further up the field. I believe that is, I think that's just Spider Rob being lapped. AFL had a little look down the inside into the Novell chicane on Trundles, but decided it's not to be. BX37 Pro is catching slowly. He's getting ready to join this party. Another yellow flag, and that looks to be, I believe, Spider Rob into the pits and DNF and calling it quits after 5 laps. He's not had the best of luck this season. Technical issues killing his race before we even got to the lights out in China. Good recovery drive last week in Brazil, and a little bit of difficulty again this week, so he should be on for a great race next week in France when we get there, but as for tonight, it's not on. BX37 Pro has joined the battle for P9 between Curly, Trundles, AFL and himself, of course. The only real battle that is raging on the track right now, Lee.
Yeah, I think we're in for a long race of this. 33 laps to go. I mean, no DNFs on track yet. Touch wood. So, yeah, it's been a... For Monaco, it's been a relatively clean start, as I thought someone crashed it, but no. But yeah, just everyone just kind of trying to settle into some sort of rhythm. Any rhythm you can get around this track.
Yeah, that's it. It is all about just dialing in, finding that rhythm, finding that consistency, and you don't need to put in absolutely flying laps. If you can keep your front wing intact and you don't, have to do an extra pit stop, and you stay in the open strategy, it can be enough. Just Spider Rob just addressing. You put a little comment in as AFL almost loses it, catches it, and Ben BX37 Pro nearly taken into the rear end of that McLaren. Yeah, it's just it's a little thing the game likes to do. You tie in the pits, it sometimes just spits you back out, so don't worry, no qualms on your side. It's not really something we'd look to punish you on, because it's impossible to manage with the game. This battle then still raging on, but a couple more calling to shape further up the field. IR Marshall behind Mark Wilson. The mediums warmed up into a nice bit of pace here for the Ferrari perhaps, and he's catching up in the Red Bull of Mark Wilson. Further up, Wubans just hovering on the edge of that 1 second gap to Murphy, the battle for P4. But ID Shoe 5.8 seconds clear at the front, 4 seconds then back from Deluxey to SUFC, and then another 4 back to Murphy. These front 3 pretty much in a world of their own compared to the rest of the pack, and even compared to each other.
The DX37 Pro, he spun it on the exit of the tunnel. That's a weird one. There must have been contact. I mean, no damage. Maybe I have no clue what could happen there.
He was chasing, and looking by the gaps, it didn't seem to. To have a come together. It didn't look as if he had any contact with anybody, but it could have been a case of just a little bit too much steering arm, a little bit too much eagerness on the ERS, perhaps. Answers on a postcard. I was going to say maybe setup, but I believe if you're not running 50-50 wings around here, what are you doing with your life? It is the only track you get ever even close to that. Of course, so much grip needed. Some particularly in Tier 1 might venture for something a little bit lower, just out of
rotation.
Yeah, rotation is one. I'm sure he's in the comments. I'm sure he's listening. He loves to view in on Monday night, but that man dreams up some ridiculous setups, and I'm sure we'll see something incredibly ridiculous come Thursday night for Tier 1.
Don't remind me. It means you have to join this track on Thursday night, Scott.
It's alright, I'll only be driving it for 2 laps and I'm sure it'll be in the wall.
Me
I've
too.
got a good record here in CRL. P4, my one and only time racing around here in Tier 3. Missed out on the podium because I picked up a last lap 3-second time penalty, just trying to keep out of the wall, cut too much of the inside of turn number 7, Mirabeau, and yeah, it scuffed my chances, and Mr. Philip McConey himself stole away the podium from me.
I wasn't around back in season 4. I came in a season later. Thankfully, I avoided this track, but fortunately, after the race on Thursday night, which I'm not looking forward to, but here we are. If I crash, I crash. to put it lightly.
I mean, it's an interesting challenge. It's a nice, different challenge.
No, it's not.
It is. Now, round 3 in the calendar, that's maybe, one way we're getting it over and done with. On the other hand, it can sort of kill any momentum you build up in the first 2 races. I'm yet to score a point, so I'm hoping to build some momentum off this.
I've scored once.
If anybody in Tier 2 or Tier 1's listening, just retire so me and Lee can score some points, eh?
Yeah, please.
That would be very, very handy. Marshall then having a look at the rear of Mark Wilson. He's getting, of course, the slipstream and the pull with the DRS. Getting it very close to the rear of the Red Bull. Having a look down the inside, swarming to the outside, and almost making contact as well to avoid both the Red Bull and the wall. This battle been raging on for quite a while. Just shows you, Lee, just, compared to what we've seen in China and Brazil, overtakes left, right and centre. We've had battles raging on for about 6 laps now, and nobody's been able to make a pass.
Sounds like Monaco, but yeah, I want to go show the Ghost Angel P8. I think his veteran experience is showing on track in Monaco, and I mean Monaco, as I say, I mean Monaco is the track where if you're going to get your result, it's probably going to be there as long as you stay in the race. And Ghost Angel 1 is definitely doing that, so shout out to him. But yeah, as you were saying, lots of battles, no overtakes, unfortunately. It seems to be quite the opposite of what we've had. But I think it's been spoiled the past 2 weeks. We were due around like this, and if it happens at Monaco, it's not a surprise.
Exactly. It's not a race we sort of came to expect, and absolute, thrill-seeking racing. But nonetheless, it provides a different challenge for the drivers. One of the challenges, though, that we're seeing, with this lack of ability to overtake, Mark Wilson, the gap a few laps ago, well, I'll say a few laps ago, it was a good few laps ago, it was about 10 seconds from him to Wuban. That's risen to 15 now. Marshall looks to be a bit of a quicker driver here. He seems to be getting things a bit better, as I've just missed the only overtake, I think. Oh, we're back. We have got an overtake. They're side by side, Moody and Ben.
Ben going for it then inside. Oh my god, here we go. He makes the move. What a move.
What a move, and what a battle between these two veterans of the community as well. They've been back around since, BX37 Pro title challenger. I believe it was in season 3 of CRA, of course, now renamed to Tier 4. Moody, I believe, has been around since that sort of time as well. He was definitely here in season 4 and potentially here long before that. But my point I was making, Mark Wilson, 15 seconds, that gap risen from 10. You look at the gap from Ghost to Marshall, it's 10 seconds. And of course, Curly caught up with Ghost, but it's still losing out time, and the guys behind are losing out time because you kind of feel as if the quicker drivers get caught in the train, they can't overtake and they lose touch with the guys in front, as I believe Marshall has let all that good work go to waste. He's had a spin on how's it, Anthony Nogues, yeah.
Oh, it's Trudner's goal for it on currently into turn 1, running outside. Goes for the move, there's contact, and the Red Bull didn't spin, but he's lost position to AFL, so overtaking yet, maybe it wasn't the pin, but it's still small overtaking as AFL picks position penalty. Ghost Angel 1 into the pits for set of hard tyres, I think just avoiding all this chaos, but yeah, some battles finally.
Yeah, starting to come to fruition. It was a bit of a shame for Ghosty getting that 5 seconds speeding into the pit lane. Now, of course, it is such a tight entry to the pit lane. It does come across you pretty quick. You haven't got the normal run into the pit lane entry. It's literally just turn right, get down the gears and get on the brakes. So getting caught out by that. Big shout out to him though. I believe he has went to no line this season. I might be wrong in that, but I'm pretty sure that's 100%. So, you know, doing no line around here in Monaco, what an achievement that is. A lot of drivers in Tier 1, Tier 2 doing it, but to have them down in Tier 4 doing it and doing it so well as him, it shows, you know, despite maybe not having the same pace as these guys that sweat the game out 6 hours a day, they've got every little bit as talent. That's why I love Tier 4 DS Baker getting a little bit loosey-goosey on the final corner, just getting the DRS to the back of Curly. Just that incident with Curly, we'll go back to that very, very quickly. You can see getting past them, AFL and Trundles have kind of shot off into the distance. I think Trundles maybe a little bit guilty there of turning in slightly early, but it is Monaco. You can kind of forgive that for happening during the race. AFL having Alex. See, this is it. The experienced commentator against the new boy. That move was never going to happen. You can just tell.
Yeah.
I was looking at it, but just, nah, it's not worth mentioning yet.
You're
you're praying for a lunge and a dive or for something. We've seen a few. I watched the start of the Tier 3 race, and there was a move pretty much similar to that, like what we were hoping for there in the early stages of the Grand Prix. So there has been some overtaking. The most action we're getting though, Lee, 3-second penalties.
Yeah, quite a few drivers now 3-second penalties, but we should be edging towards the pit window now, as Ruban is right in the back of Murphy. I'd also been near to the hover. Ruban seems to get close, drop off, and then the part repeats itself. So yeah, it's goes into one with a 3-second penalty, as AFL is going for the move on Trundles now into turn 1. He goes around the outside, really be heading the corner he is, and it is in clip we've seen an overtake as DX Pro gets past MDS Baker as well, so actually set to see overtakes.
2 overtakes in one straight. Is this Monaco or is this I don't know, what's an equally exciting track? Probably
Hungry.
I was thinking Hungary. I was going to go like the little dirt track round my local park or something, you know. But no, we won't do that kind of slander. Yeah, AFL getting the move done on Trundles there. Trundles getting a little bit loose once again on the exit of Raskas. Set him up for a bad exit of 18-19 Anthony Nogues. And yeah, just AFL with the DRS and a better exit, a better run. Saw him get the move done. Wuban still just sitting on the rear of Murphy. These two battling out. Murphy 38% ERS. Wuban with the 75. And Wuban, it must be said, looks a little bit more quick. Just a little bit more pacey at this stage of the stint. So maybe time to burn some of that ERS. Get the move done and pull away. Pull out the gap like we've seen other cars do. You look at Curly. Once he's got by... or once he's been passed, sorry, he's been dropped 1.6 seconds. AFL dropping Trundles as well. Trundles, the gap extending quite a bit, maybe a little mistake creeping in for him. It's a little bit of bottleneck, and I feel sorry for anybody that qualifies behind me in first night, because I'm just gonna I'm gonna park my bus in you lads. I hate to tell you. Hasbullah, 3-second penalty.
Victor Mean is off in turn 1, he must have just went straight on there, but yeah, I mean, I would call it bad. It's not much to worry about the issue for me.
You're gonna have to get through the buses. Victor Mean then running a little bit deep into turn 1. He went for some heroics into Sandovalk, and it did not pay out. SUFC then, the first of our front-ish runners into the pits. Murphy follows suit, sort of interesting to see this battle between Wuban and Murphy. Murphy, of course, clearing the air for Wuban. Wuban looking a bit pacier. He's got lots of ERS in the tank. He's probably going to try and burn this now on a quick end lap, and even go 1 or 2 more and try and build that gap in the clean air. Hard tyres on, of course, for those two. It's to be expected. 15 laps on the mediums, then onto the hards towards the end of this Grand Prix. And amazingly, we've only seen one retirement, Spider Rob, in the pits. We've seen, I mean, I would be a liar if we said we've not seen any incidents. We've seen plenty of kisses with the wall, even a few cuddles with the wall, but no big major retirements, no cause for concern in the way of safety cars or virtual safety cars. And yeah, it's been a good Grand Prix so far in the sense of cleanly driving. There is.
I feel bad for him. I mean, I didn't mean you cursed him. I didn't mean to stop cursing people.
I think we may have, yeah, just struggling a little bit on those hards. Let's jump back to the battle for P9 then. That seems to be raging on. Wuban is in the pit, so we'll see how that compares with Murphy once he rolls on round to finish his lap. If he's managed to get the undercut, the overcut, see which way that battle flows. Curly then on the rear of Trundos, but he's got BX37 Pro for very, very close company. SUFC goes through then on Wuban. How's it going to compare with Murphy and Luke?
Wuban easy as Murphy, yeah.
Yeah.
He had a Mark Wilson. Some Wuban, I think he's had a bit of a wobble there. Has he got damage? I think so. I think he's just been straight on the pit exit instead of actually turning properly. I think he's okay. He's just his tires are cold, and Murphy will have to try and catch up and take advantage of it. Wuban, the overcut has worked, and he's up past Murphy and then up into a net P4 where Mark Wilson pits.
Yeah, the only issue for him, of course, Mark Wilson going to be looking to go on for quite a few more laps. Maybe a bit of a roadblocker for him and kind of stunt his progress to get ahead of Murphy. If he'd managed to come out ahead of Mark, it would have been huge, huge for his Grand Prix. The front two into the pit lane after 16 laps, Dorluxi and ID Shu. Those two, we've not really saw much of them. 9 seconds the gap between those two at the front, and there was a few more back to SUFC. So the front, essentially, the front 6 all making their pit stops now. Aside from Mark Wilson, he's going to run it long on these hards. A safety car of opportunity could maybe come into play for him. BX37 Pro is still battling out with Curly. Of course, we've seen DS Baker and Trundos pit. I believe they were involved in this battle. Marshall has pit his BX37 Pro, gets a little bit loose on the exit of Raskas, but he's kept that DRS and will slowly but surely catch up to the rear of Curly. But it is what you've said a few times, one thing to catch, another thing to overtake around the streets of Monte Carlo. Of course, Monte Carlo on one of the biggest racing weekends of the calendar, the same as the IndyCar Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 in NASCAR. And speaking of the Indy 500, it is of course one of the 3 Triple Crowns. Yellow flag, Sector 1.
A scooter came spawn out of turn 1, but I want to point out ID Shu, when he pit, he got his wing changed, so he's had wing damage and was still gapping the Luxius. Yeah, as Murphy's got a penalty, but it seems like Wuban is struggling to get past the Red Bull Mark Wilson, and he's very slow, almost wasn't the back of him, so this could be a roadblock. Now Murphy is caught up to these guys, so it'll be interesting to see what unfolds here. Oh, Wuban!
Oh, Wuban with a big moment there.
Commentator's curse again. I need to shut up.
Wuban, a big moment there in the exit of Raskas. Does well to keep it out of the wall, does incredibly well in fact to keep it out of the wall and keep his car in one piece. Murphy does slip on through, however, now it's not really going to be much for Murphy to take advantage of because he can't really pull out a gap because he's going to be roadblocked in by Mark Wilson. But equally, Wuban's going to be roadblocked in by Murphy. 3-second time penalty, of course, to be applied at the end of the race for Murphy as things stand. So the place would effectively fall back to Wuban if things were as they are at the moment. But yeah, big moment there. Just shows you how things can change very, very quickly here in Monaco. And like you're saying, the ID Shu picking up wing damage, slight wing damage there, still gap in the field. I definitely believe this will be his first and only appearance in Tier 4, I would say, based on that performance alone.
Yeah, I mean, they have a 100% record if you can use it, which is more than most of us can say, Scott. But yeah, Murphy right on the back of Mark Wilson. Just try, I don't know, because I wasn't trying to pass them, but it's Monaco, so it's what you should have done. But yeah, just I reckon because he's obviously those hard to go for long corners, and Mark Wilson might just want to stay up as long as possible. Hope that something happens, and then maybe try and capitalise on it towards the end. But I reckon he'll be out for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to see, the medium runners going 15 to 17 laps, 18 laps in some cases for some of them. So realistically, we can expect them in potentially as early as next lap, but potentially as late as lap
Yellow flag.
24. Yellow flag at the Noble chicane. I believe that is. Oh, as we see
Another one.
a backwards car there on board with Murphy. I believe that was
Was.
Tomo Tiptop.
Was.
It is one of these tracks, so we've seen some like look, this, the front guys are doing good, they're staying out, but the reason they're at the front is because they're keeping it clean. The guys at the back are spinning all the time because that's why they're at the back. And it is one of those tracks where you spin once, you make one little mistake, and it just goes to your head sometimes, and you just lose all momentum, you lose all rhythm, you lose all consistency, and it sort of just all goes out the window.
Obviously, rhythm is a very important part of a driver, and especially at Monaco, you need rhythm. You just get laps in and spinning once, as you said. Once you get in that rhythm, it's hard to get out of. So once you get in that rhythm, you're fine, but it's getting into that rhythm, which can take a while. And if you're spinning, it just keeps on getting you out of that rhythm. You have to try and get back into it, and it just builds up as Urban has gone to the back of Murphy, but I think he's avoided wing damage, and he's going to go in. No, he's not going to. I'm getting too excited here.
You're getting excited over nothing. One thing we didn't get excited over though, ID Shu must have had a little bit of spin here. He's down to P2. That gap has went from 3 seconds in his favour to half a tenth second, sorry, in Deluxe's favour. And we've said it already, it's hard to overtake round here. So the pacey leader of the race, the man that put it on pole, making a mistake, he had wing damage. That lost him a huge portion of his gap.
He smacked the wall again, I think. He could have wing damage there. If he doesn't, he's a very lucky man. But yeah, I was going to say this, but I didn't. He's very quick, but does he have the consistency and is he able to keep it on the wall? Monaco, that's the most important thing at the Roxy. Could be on for a second win as long as he doesn't spin, as Ghost Engine want to spawn too soon.
Yeah, if he can keep his head down, like you say, keep it consistent, and ride it out for another 17 laps here, Deluxe could be taking back-to-back wins. He has got a lot of pressure on the Williams. That Williams is going to be hovering around the back of him like a blowtorch on his gearbox. But Deluxe, he's been around the paddock a few times. He knows how to deal with these characters, and you wouldn't rule it out here.
We'll ban down the inside of Murphy. Murphy made a mistake coming out of Kino Square, and then it gave Ruban the open. They finally dived down the inside, but Murphy defended well, and but we're starting to see what's happened. The race is starting to open up a little bit as MDS Baker and DX Pro, they were side by side, and it seems like Alpha's got past, trying to get past Tolfer now. He's off 17 up all as the battle for the lead. With the Luxie's ghosting. Has he knocked out?
I don't think so. He looks to be.
He didn't. Why did he ghost him? What? This game is.
That's a strange one.
He's letting him by.
That is huge respect, ID Shu. That looked to be. I wonder if it had something to do with the lapped car of, I believe it is Victor Mean.
That's true.
I wonder if it was something to do with that. Maybe them two coming together and the game sort of bugging out, not sure what to do. We'll ghost them.
Just BX Pro's round, him and Tolfin subside into the back, and that's never going to work. I think he has wing damage. As you were saying, I think it's something to do with lap car, and it's great sportsmanship by ID Shu, and that's massive respect.
Absolutely incredible thing to see. What is this train, by the way? Oh, this is it. We're all aboard the Topher train here of the battle for P10 to P14 is getting very, very spicy. Hasbullah just about to sort of hook onto the rear. That I was just looking like these gaps are getting very close. As DS Baker tries to go side by side up the hill, and it just isn't gonna happen for him there, and ends up in the wall. And believe there'll be some wing damage there. It isn't like normal tracks where, if you can get side by side, you always need to go side by side. Sometimes you've just got to choose, I'm going to sit in behind, and that was maybe one of those opportunities that you need to have a little bit of better judgment and just a little bit of patience, of course. It can get tricky at times here, Lee. There's nothing worse than sitting behind a driver, you know I'm quicker than you. I'm going to, let me pass. Why are you defending so hard? But it isn't really hard to defend around here, as we've got yellow flag in sector 1. That's Scooter Claim having a little spin, letting some of the lead pack through. Mark Wilson still holding up Wuban and Murphy. Wuban has got past Murphy. I'm assuming there's been a little mistake crept in there at some point. Mean Man Moody is right on the back of Topher, who pulls into the pits after 18 laps on the mediums.
I thought he spun, but turns out he should go on the pitch. Yeah, as AF Wilson's caught off to the back of this battle between Wuban, Mark Wilson, and Murphy. So yeah, that's just what Park kind of busted Mark Wilson 23 laps on his hard. So Ruben's finally going for it now. To the outside, new chicane. You have the grip, but will you have? He goes around the other side. Does he? I think he keeps it on track. What a move by Wuban. Had to get past him, and now we can get away from the guys. Excellent move. He had the. I want to say the word, but I can't. So yeah, he had the bravery. There we go. To go around the outside of the chicane.
Yeah, it was a little bit elbows out, you could say, but he got the move done. It looks like everybody's got by. No. Yeah, he's coming into the pits. He's probably saw the writing on the wall with that. I wonder, no wing damage. He's back out straight. I wonder if there was maybe a little bit of wing damage, because there was a little bit of contact between him and Wuban. It looked to be more just sort of tires connecting and just space being very much at a premium around here. Mark Wilson then, he's going to be on the mediums, so he is going to be a lot pacier than pretty much everybody else around him. AFL and Curly still to pit, they'll be on the mediums, so he's going to be able to use that pace to hook onto the back of Marshall, try and pull his way up through this field. That little bit of pace advantage as well may give him better exits, may give him a chance to actually make some overtakes towards this Grand Prix and pull himself into a high points paying position. What was going on there, Lee?
No, just the ID she went into the back of the box. She tapped him not half spun, he had a little. Well, but was the battle for the front of the seat, nothing yet. We haven't spoken about it much, there's not much been happening, but I think we're starting to heat up soon. Obviously, ID she's had the pace, but I mean, Deluxy has track position, and Monaco is the most important. So, he says, I mean, Deluxy, looking to get back-to-back wins, and with we're currently down in 17th. It looks like Curly might be finishing the points. If he does, it'll be very low points. Deluxy and SFC, in fact, will both be taking advantage of that at the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, Mean Man Moody picking up, or Mean Moody, I just keep calling him by his old stage name. Mean Moody, sorry, picking up a 3-second time penalty. Mark Wilson then, how does he compare to AFL? Getting the undercut this time. He's seen the overcut previously by Wuban on Murphy, while Mark Wilson gets the undercut on AFL, and I don't think Curly was in that fight, judging by the gap. Up to P7 is Mark Wilson. He's got Murphy further up the road with a penalty, so he's got a lot of catching to do, mind, to take opportunity in that. But fresh mediums, they're going to be a little bit pacey. They're going to be a little bit more grippy than these older hards. He's going to get the benefit of some DRS, of some lapped cars that he may come across, so you never know. It could all reap in and pull towards the end of this Grand Prix. It's been a pretty, for Monaco standards, we've still not had a retirement on track. We've not had a safety car. Now, I know that they're obviously a little bit less common here, but it's been a good showing. Of course, we had a few safety cars in Brazil last week. This was the race so everybody was expecting them to come out, but the guys, I've got to be said, I'm mighty impressed with you. There's obviously been, a few mistakes creeping in, but there always is. Nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes, and I suppose that's the three rules of racing. Everybody makes mistakes. Share your passion and enjoy yourself. Speaking of yellow flags, though,
Marshall, I think it was. Yeah, he's lost out to Mark Wilson. Marshall, I think, lost the back end, and because that has now lost position as the battle at the front is heating up. ID sure right on the back of the box. He might go for it turn one here. He's using his ERS. I think he's a little bit too far back though, and that's the issue around this track. You can get as close as you want, as he's on. Oh my god, is he? As I'm saying, he gets right to the gearbox. You get as close as you want, but that's about keeping ahead. It looks his flash, so I want a very similar ERS, but this battle's starting to heat up where I think ID sure want to get past him soon, because he's looking at one of Monaco is not good.
Yeah, I've just had a message, by the way, off Dan. Apparently, right, Lee, take your time. Apparently you speak too quick sometimes and he can't understand you. the thick, it's not Kerry accent, but we'll say the thick Kerry accent. A little bit too much for the viewers sometimes, my laddie.
I'm from Dublin. There's a big difference. I'll try, it's just a habit of mine.
Some of the boys struggling. Marshall then into the pits, 5-second time penalty for him as he rolls on in. Not the way he would have wanted. 9 laps in the hard, so I'm assuming some sort of wing damage for him there, but it is fresh mediums going with the balanced tyres set up. ID shoe right on the diffuser of the Aston Martin of Deluxe then. Deluxe going to get the pull of DRS, potentially of these lap cars. Makes contact through turn 1 and contact again, and ID shoe losing it as a result of that. How is his front wing intact? Well, it's not anymore. What a moment for this race. Pole sitter, race leader, trend setter indeed. And it's gone away in a matter of seconds. A couple of little touches onto the diffuser of Deluxe, unsettling the car, wiggling it about, you could say, in the good old terms of freefall Scotty terminology of commentary. Got that car all wiggly jiggly and ended into the wall. New front wing needed on the Williams, and that's going to be a huge pit stop. Now it is 23 seconds back, P4 to P3, so worst case he may come out around about that P4. He might be able to get on the podium here. Yeah.
Hasbulla has, I think he's won or something. I think it wasn't sure, but yeah. I mean, Oxy, without any mistakes, has won this race. But yeah, it's actually if he gets 15 penalties. I mean, he's in a world of his own, so it shouldn't really matter. But yeah, big disappointment for ID Show right in the back room. And yeah, just it's all about not making mistakes on Monaco. And Oxy, he might not be the fastest, but he seems to be the most consistent. He seems to be the least prone to errors, and that is definitely helping him here. As with 10 laps to actually 9 laps to go. He's looking pretty good as ID Shoe pits, and I reckon he'll come out in about P4. We'll actually have to wait and see though.
Yeah, we'll see. Of course, it is a relatively short pit lane here in Monaco. The track itself is short, so the pit lane naturally is quite short. He's got a front wing change. Hasbulla has DNF. That is in to Saint-Avoque, and there you go. That would, you know, looking at the car on the track, we know how narrow the track is. Any other track, that's a safety car. You know, if that was trying to think of a nice tight bit, but this battle, sorry, P3 here, it's going to heat on. Wuban going to try and get a run, of course. ID Shoe on fresh mediums, it's going to be quicker with those tyres once he gets them up to pace, but if he's a little bit icy here on this first lap, it may not come to fruition, but I think he's done just enough to get out ahead of Wuban for P3. But yeah, Hasbulla retiring in there on the exit of turn 1, our first retirement on track. You look at that compared to, I don't know, I mean, anywhere in Baku, anywhere in Singapore, it's a safety car. But Monaco is just, the game recognises that, generally speaking, there's going to be a little bit more infringements with the wall, shall we say, and decides not to give them. BX37 Pro loses out to Topher there through the swimming pool. Must have been a little mistake by Arben, but he is going to have DRS now, absolutely flinging it into Anthony Nose, and yeah, carrying so much speed and momentum, diving in there. Love to see that from our drivers. Really putting their driving where their mouth is. Yes?
Yeah, Scooter Camera's gone straight on, and he's DNF'd. Is he DNF'd? No, I think he's crashed. That's a weird one. I thought it was hard on track, but no, maybe he's trying to reverse, and then obviously you have to drive back. Obviously the drive safety because reverse on track and maybe rush back into the wall. It didn't look like it was on purpose, so I wouldn't say it was on purpose. It was just one of those where Monaco tight track it happens.
Yeah, a bit of a strange one. Adds us on a postcard. Maybe investigated by the student team, just as a precaution, of course. We like to eliminate retirements in track where we can. Yellow flags once again. That's a Haas, I believe, of DS Baker. Is it DS Baker or is it Wuban? It's DS Baker, most definitely is, at the final turn. AFL then has caught up to the rear of Mark Wilson. These two will be looking to try and make inroads to Murphy, who has penalties. AFL, though, getting a good run on the exit. Mark Wilson just squeezing him into the wall. You kind of think Mark could have gave him a little bit more room there on the outside. Doesn't look to be too much damage, but it kind of killed any momentum by AFL on a run. ID Shoe getting a
Is so
flying
rapid.
lap in.
He's
He
getting
is
eight.
rapid.
He's getting about 8 seconds on SCFC in 2 laps. So I reckon he'll still salvage a P2 here if he keeps it going with SCFC sticking 2 seconds time penalty at the moment, which would be a good recovery considering. But as you said, I think this will be his first and last race in Tier 4. I think he's definitely has to race for Tier 3, maybe even Tier 2. With his qualifying time outdid Tier 3, I reckon, so could end up making the appearance on Thursday night, who knows?
Yeah, definitely. It could be a one to watch out for. I'm just looking there, Mark Wilson AFL. We've seen that little coming together. It looks as if Mark squeezed him into the wall. AFL then, it's a strange one. It looked as if Mark let him by, as if to say, like, right, I squeezed you into the wall, you would have had me there, have the position. But then it's a 3 second gap, and I don't know if AFL was quite that quick. So whether Mark is sort of maybe nursing, maybe that's why there was a little spin to begin with in the struggle out of the corner. He's maybe nursing a little bit of a wing damage here, and of course with 6 laps to go, it's no worth pitting.
Oh, Ruban. Sorry, didn't know too short. He made a mistake out of Anthony Noakes, no, out of Rascar, sorry, and almost lost position to Murphy, but he keeps heading from there. But yeah, mistakes keep in towards the end as ID Shoe 13 seconds in 3 laps. Jesus.
Incredible. Just while we're talking about things, I suppose it could impact the race and where people end up, whether that being in tiers in ID Shoe's case or on track. Penalties for you lovely people at home. So SUFC in P2 has 3 seconds, as does the 2 McLarens, P5, P6 of Murphy and AFL. FRL, Mean, Moody and Topher, P12 and 13 respectively, also share the 3 second penalty spot. We then jump up to 6 seconds for Curly in P10 and BX37 Pro in P14, as with his teammate Ghost Angel 1 down in P17. 8 seconds for IR Marshall, and just as I'm reading it out, Mean Man Moody, or Moody, likes to join the 6 second gang. So 8 seconds for Marshall in P9, 9 seconds for Victor Mean and Tomo Tip Top in P11 and 16 respectively. So I think, judging by that, generally speaking, there's not going to be too much of a movement with the finishing grid here. ID Shoes, of course, he's catching up with FUFC at a rapid pace on these fresher mediums and just having good pace. So I think he might get the jump up to P2 on SUFC. But apart from that, it's not really. It doesn't actually seem, the guys that have the penalties are either too far ahead of the guys behind them, or the guys behind them have penalties of equal or more. So not really going to play too much into this. A battle on track at the moment then is between Curly and Victor Mean. As things stand, Deluxe, of course, will take top in the championship ahead of this man in P10. Curly's had good form in the first 2 races, struggling a little bit here in Monaco. Of course, he was aided a little bit by Deluxe spinning out in China, but he put himself in the right position. Brazil making it through the chaotic safety car restart on lap 20 and just sort of holding his way through towards the end, overtaking when he can. Yellow flags at sector 1. I believe that's Ghost Angel 1 going a little bit deep into Santa Voc, turn number 1.
It was BX Pro.
Oh, it was BX. See, that's the thing. It's such a short track, and the gaps it's so easy to lap cars and cars get mixed up. We're losing track nearly. I'm glad it's a 50% race and not 100%, because as a commentator, I'm struggling to keep up, and I don't think I could keep up at 100% as a driver. It would be.
The concentration. Imagine the concert around this track. For what? That'd be like 2 hours, nearly.
Oh yeah, an hour and 45 to 2 hours, you would generally say.
Jesus. But yeah, think about Curly. I mean, if you're going to have a bad race, Monaco is one you expect. He's still in the points. I mean, scoring any points at Monaco is a bonus. I mean, every point counts in the championship, and obviously it looks like he's been good first rounds. If Monaco's a small blip, but it'd be obviously sprint race. In fact, next week means extra points up for grabs. So yeah, but ID Shoe has now caused 2 seconds within SFC, so if I was ID should just hold behind them because you're gonna get the position anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. He's within the 3 second fall there. He's P2 as things stand. BX37 Pro has retired, and that is in the pits from P16 design. It's not worth finishing out this Grand Prix. Victor Mean got past Curly running a little bit wide at the top of the hill. Turn at number 3, Massanet, and looked to clip the wall very, very slightly on his way up, but the Mercedes on a little recovery drive, it must be said, he was right down near the back, and he looks to touch the wall himself. Just a little kiss. Yellow flags once again at the hairpin. I believe that's Tomo Tip Top. He's having not a Tomo Tip Top race here tonight. He's spent more time facing backwards than he has forward. Has again another legend of the community, and just looking for the space where the space ain't there, and does make contact with the wall. I'm amazed these front wings are intact. They must have done something with these barriers.
Yes. I mean, they're on something, but SGFC decided to let ID issue pass, so I think you know. But yeah, ID issue. I wonder. Let's play a game. How close do you think you'll get to the issue before the flag? I say 6 seconds. What's your guess?
4.9 seconds.
What, do you want to go exact decibels now?
Yeah, I want to go exact decimals. I want to be closest wins.
Okay, so I'm gonna say 5.743.
You're going 5.75. I'm going to go 4.942. And as you know, commentator, steward, and head admin, we're going to have a bonus championship point available to me and you for this, I think.
Yep.
So one of us is going to get a point by the end of tonight. We'll wait and see for that game. I'm sure I can get that sanctioned by the rest of them. Dan will support me in that. Jacob and Nathan, maybe not so much. Few laps to go here, 2 to be exact, around the streets of Monte Carlo, and all the cars are pretty spaced out. It has been a bit more of an endurance race. It's not been much of an F1 race. It's more been like something out of the WEC or the WEC, for those that don't like abbreviations or 3 letters slammed together. A little bit of an endurance, a little bit of ride it out until the end, keep the car intact and make sure you get to the finish line. 16 cars still in this race, 12 of them will of course score points, and yeah, the 4 currently not on course are of course DS Baker, Mean Man Moody, or FRL Mean Moody, I need to get that into my head, Toma Tip Top and Ghost Angel 1. However, if I can get the penalties up, if I can find the right thing.
Yes, Baker, yeah. Baker
is closing in on Topher perhaps. 1.8 seconds is what he needs to find. 1.6 now out of the hairpin. 1.5, 1.4. Just gaining time hand over fist here is the Haas. He looks to be improving. I'm mighty impressed with Baker. He recently joined, he was in the GT League, so he has an understanding of racing. But the F1 games compared to GT, it's a completely different ball game. He's joined up this season to race full time in Tier 4. He's maybe not had the the best of results in the previous weeks. I'm a P20 in the standings. I believe it was P16 and then a P13. So he only just missed out last week on the points. He's had a nice little improvement, and in fact he's on to score his first points as things stand. Shout out to Spider Rob on he's gave us a nice little commendation on doing the best we can with comms. I just seen his previous message where he asked if he could join in the comms box. I've only just seen that. I had it. YouTube's got this thing of putting it on live messages, or like top messages, so I can only see about 1 in every 5 comments until I put it to all comments. I just switched across there, and I've finally seen the stuff from Spider Rob.
Yep, the Luxie coming to as simple as you can. It's been quite a quiet drive for him, but he won't mind. He's going to win the crown.
Oh no! ID shoes spun in the final. I thought I was just about to say I'm going to win this bonus point. Sorry.
Deluxe crosses the line, and he wins the Monaco Grand Prix.
Wow, that's gonna be the best commentary ended to a race ever. Just Deluxe takes it back-to-back wins. with Brazil and Monte Carlo. ID shoe 13.8. It's a bonus point for you, my friend. He bottled it for me, pretty much like I'll bottle any points on first day. SUFC rounds off the podium. Wiban then 26 seconds gap to Wiban, just shows how much of a bit of attrition this Grand Prix can bring on you and pull things out. It really is a race of attrition, but Wiban is going to come home to finish in P4. The two McLarens, 5 and 6, but in which order? The order they cross the line, Murphy ahead of AFL. Mark Wilson then will be next up, barring any heroics like ID Shoe, ahead of Trundles for 7 and 8, and then our lapped cars from 9 downwards is IR Marshall, Victor Mean, Curley, and DS Baker getting into the points for his first point of the season. Topher, Mean Moody, Tomo Tip Top, and Ghost Angel won the last of our finishers. I mean, I don't think it's one of the races that will go down in the history books, but nonetheless, it was a race. There was some free.
I hope so.
There was three solid drives, and I think one incredibly quick drive and one incredibly quick and consistent drive amongst those top three.
Yeah, I do agree with you. As it looks, a big call on the championship that means he'll go straight into first on, I think, it'll be 66 points, I believe. And SFC, I think, will go on the second as Curly finished P11. But yeah, I mean, if Tier 4 can make Monaco semi-entertaining, I'm quite happy for what the rest of the season is going to be. But yeah, as it looks, they're winning the crown jewel in Monaco. Congratulations to him. A very consistent race, but yeah, just on to the next one.
On to the next, indeed. Of course, France next week, the first of the sprint races. It'll be once again returning to the track. Yeah, we can get SUFC, and I think he might be our only driver coming in for a chat. Deluxe may come in. ID Shoe's gonna give it a miss, unfortunately. We're still waiting to hear back from Deluxe, but if you could give SUFC a little invitation to our chat, we'll get a chat with our P3 in the Alfa Romeo as I take you through the final grid once more. Deluxe then P2 to P1 for the Aston Martin, taking back-to-back wins here in CRL Tier 4 Season 8. ID Shoe, though, the man of the moment, really. I look at his fastest lap time compared to everybody else, a 12.2. That was quicker than some of these guys. That was quick enough for, I think, P3 in qualifying, and he was doing that in the race. I think it might be worth a little bump up. SUFC then in P3, Wiban in P4 ahead of Murphy and AFL. Mark Wilson, Trundles all finishing on the lead lap, and then it's to the lap cars of Marshall, Victor Mean, Curley, DS Baker, the final of the points finishers. Topher, Mean Moody, FRL Mean Moody to be exact, Tomo Tip Top and Ghost Angel 1 also finishing, and then our retirees. A very, very, very interesting race. Gaps forming here and there, but it's done and by with, and I think that'll be a relief to a lot of these drivers. They'll be looking forward to the season ahead.
Yeah, I agree. So I haven't voted SFC, so we'll see if he joins. If not, I think we'll end it. But yeah, I mean, SFC seems to be at the moment sort of podium or DNF. You got P1 in China, DNF in Brazil, P3 in Monaco. So maybe he'll be DNF in France next week.
It is, yeah, potentially one for the predictions. A sort of race on, race off. We've seen that a few times with some of them. Yeah, I'm just looking now. The admin chat going Tier 4 with a 108. Po sheesh. From Mr. McConey. But yeah.
I think SFC's Jordan, so I think we can wrap it up here.
Yeah, doesn't know if he's maybe went a little bit camera shy on us here. And I think after that, it's one of those races. As much as it's nice to speak of the devil, I was going to say, as much as it's nice to commentate, it's nice to get it over with. But we'll have a quick wee chat then with our P3 very briefly. S3FC back on the podium once again. I believe you'll be P2 in the championship. You must be glad that race is over, it must be said.
Yeah, my arms are killing. My brake, because I use controller, my index finger on my brakes just absolutely destroyed. But no, it's good. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. To be fair, I think everyone did really well. Like, I thought going into it, there's only going to be sort of like 5-6 finishes, but so no, it was alright.
Yeah, that did surprise me. I had it down in my bold prediction, it must be said, that there would only be 6 finishers, so well done Tier 4. You've made me look pretty stupid, but stupid in the good way, it must be said. Back on the podium again, you had a bit of a poor showing in Brazil, and by poor showing I mean a couple of corners, a bit of, not really a poor showing, it must be said, a bit more just unfortunate running, but 2 podiums out of 3. Championship credentials could be in the running here. France next week. Some bonus points in the sprint race. How are you feeling for it?
I'm alright. I'm not too bad at France. It's sort of hit and miss for me, really. I'm either really quick or really slow. But I'm pretty sure we did it last year, and I wasn't too bad there. So hopefully, should be alright.
Potential to join us again for another chat then. Lee, I'll hand it over to you, mate, give you a chance to ask a question for the first time in 3 weeks.
I don't really have any questions to ask.
Well, there we go. Well, maybe we get 4th time lucky next week, folks, in France. I suppose all there is for me is, I can't even remember what I was going to have. You seem to have a relatively clean race anyway, kept out of the walls. Seem to be all pretty good all round.
Yeah, I knew the 2 guys in front of me were too quick, and then when I realised I was sort of like 20 odd seconds ahead, I was just literally just trying to survive. I didn't want to do anything stupid and like ruin my. I'd rather 3rd place than nothing at all. So I was just sort of coasting through all the chicanes and just surviving.
He was driving to survive.
Literally.
Quite literally, yeah. Yeah, we did notice that you didn't fight too much with the.
No, I pulled over in the tunnel because I had a 3-second penalty and I knew he was catching me and I didn't want to sort of have a coming together, so I pulled over and let him through.
It must be said, very, very smart driving. I've got to be said, some drivers would have fought it out, tried to get that P2, but for the difference in points, it's certainly worth maybe keeping the P3.
Yeah, he's a reserve as well, so it's sort of like, I don't think we'll come up against him too often. And if we did, I think he shouldn't be in this tier anymore anyway. So.
Well, I'll let you in a little secret there. Yeah, my understanding is I think it might be time for promotion for him. Maybe amongst a few other drivers, of course. Typically speaking, here in CRL, we have the free race review, and then we sort of double check the grids because we sometimes get them wrong.
He was quicker pole than tier 3. For their qualifying session.
He was 3 times quicker. He might, who knows? Like you said, Lee, he might be joining me in the tier 2 grid on Thursday night.
Ahead of you on his debut, Scott. So.
Oh well. To be fair, I hope he doesn't because there'll probably be another driver that'll beat me. But anyway, I think we'll kind of round things off here then. After what's been a long night on the shores of the Mediterranean. SUFC, congratulations once again. P2 in the championship as things stand. Another P3, or another podium it should be said, in this season. And like I said, the first time I spoke to you, I don't think it'll be the last we speak to you.
Hopefully not, no. And thank you very much, chaps.
Been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me once again, Lee. 3 in a row. This has been, I think, the most consistent commentary pairing Tier 4's had in about 3 seasons.
Has to be. Me and G were just goated.
Yeah, there was a lot of sort of movement last season, of course, and then before that it was me and just whoever I could get. So it's good to have a sort of fixed secondary commentator, even if Dan can't always understand you. I'm sure he'll be hearing a lot of maybe
Thanks a lot.
scrap inventor, either yourself or him for that. But yeah, before I waffle on too long, I'm just going to thank you all for joining us. Make sure to watch back, of course, the previous few rounds for some belter of a race, and if you're stuck for something to do. Tier 3 also raced here tonight. Give them a little bit of love and viewing back their race if you missed that and watched us live. Join us on Thursday for Tier 2, kicking off 7:30 with the wonderful Jonathan and Bunnies. And then Tier 1, I believe it'll be Jamie and potentially even either Danny or Staban. So either way, you've got two builter of commentary teams in first night, two builter of a grids, and hopefully two builter of races. Me and Lee will be back next Monday, however, so until then, have a very, very wonderful week.